Hi, so I bought this Mallard from the 00 Live Steam Club, and they've been very nice. Tried to help me get it working. It wasn't working out of the box, which turned out to be an issue with the controller. So I opened that up and it was just this part here wasn't connected there. I didn't really know how to fix that, so I just cut the wires, connected them directly to the immersion heater in the boiler and the superheater on the front. That didn't work very well. It was showing a weird 10-volt value on the front, not the 17 it's supposed to show. I didn't know how to fix this thing, so put that aside. Saw what I could do with some other stuff. So this is a PWM motor speed controller. I bought that secondhand on eBay for £5. So I plugged that into this. It did start heating the immersion heater and superheater, but this thing didn't seem to do any PWM. It wasn't clicking, and I messed around with the multimeter to try and see what was going on. It didn't seem to change. No matter how much you turned the pot here, it wouldn't make it click, it wouldn't make it change its voltage or current that it was putting through the immersion heater. So I think that is pretty much just DC, 17 volts, straight out of there, into here. I don't think it was doing any PWM, but it did steam up and things were looking okay. This thing also got very hot, so I convinced myself that this thing is basically a resistor, making sure I don't put too much power into the heaters on that. Oh, another thing I tried, speed controller. So rather than this, which is supposed to take in a potential divider, it can take in a signal from an RC receiver, which would go into this. But unfortunately it would click for a little bit, but I think it was just overpowered, although it's supposed to be rated for like 30 amps, but anywhere between 6 and 24 volts. I think it's just dodgy marketing. So I've been using that to steam it up, and the idea eventually is to run it on lithium batteries. So 4 lithium batteries there, each 4.2 volts, so that's about 16 volts. And that is enough to run it on the rolling road, it seems. I was going to try and run it through PWM, but I don't think it's necessary. I was a bit scared that maybe the heaters wouldn't like being run on direct DC, but it doesn't seem to bother them. And I had heard that the thermostat for cutting that out might not work on lack of PWM. Maybe if someone has any ideas for whether PWM versus just DC would affect the working of that thermostat. But anyway, so the regulator motor, how would I open and close the regulator motor? Initially I tried, just using a battery direct, just on the cables. That did turn it. It struggled to get round for that section there where it changes between forward and reverse. The direct battery on it seemed to not be powerful enough to get it over that section, which is actually what I was finding when I was initially trying to use it with the initial Hornby control. It didn't seem to have enough power to get through that section. I don't know if that's catching or if that's supposed to happen like that. But anyway, so obviously I wouldn't want to run it on the track just by putting a battery on the regulator motor. That just wouldn't work. So I got one of these. It's just a little brushed speed controller, but that didn't seem to work too well. It would kind of have a little bit of power, but I think something to do with this old Futaba FM transmitter and receiver, they seem to only send servos through 90 degrees. Even if they've got a full 180 degree rotation, it only seems to put them through 90 degrees. So it just wasn't putting enough power into the motor to turn it. It would get stuck all the time, and certainly wouldn't get through that whistle stage. What I did here then, I just opened up a servo, used this end of the servo is basically a potential divider, so I can put that somewhere to center it basically, so that the servo thinks it's in the right position. And then when I tell it it's not in the right position with this, because the servo isn't moving, it's like it thinks it has to work really hard to get to the right position, so it puts enough energy to get it over the whistle section, and certainly doesn't get stuck in random parts, which was nerve-wracking before. I wouldn't want to be running it on the track and suddenly my controller isn't isn't responding. So anyway, I'm very excited about this. I'm very happy that the lithium batteries seem to be okay. And I'm glad I don't have to run them through, I don't know, some crappy speed controllers. It was going to be hard to, or this one, it was going to be hard to cool those, and it was going to waste a load of power anyway. So I think if I can just run these direct, yeah, I'm going to have a good time.